Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma is proud to present The Shasteen Show from London's in downtown Tullahoma. Brought to you by Southern Community Bank, Rogers Insurance Group, and Mission Collision. Now, here are your hosts, Scott Shasteen and Ken Kelly.
It is National Championship night, and we are live at London's. Welcome back. Happy New Year. It's been a couple of weeks since we spent some time with you, so we're glad to be back. We're on the Duck tonight. I tweeted out that we would be on the Rooster. We're on the Duck tonight. I think we're going to move to the Rooster next week, but hopefully if you know somebody who listens to the show regular, maybe text them and let them know that we are on 93.9 The Duck. Live at London's in downtown Tullahoma. It's steak night. We've got room here. We got about 25 TVs for the game tonight, Alabama and Clemson. Come on down, watch the game, have a steak. Ken, you've been looking for this since, I don't know, last season ended. Here we are.
It's been an interesting season, to say the least. I've seen Alabama play 3 times in person, and thankful they made it here to this big game. I know this is Nick's going for his Alabama playing their 7th national championship in their 10th season. It never gets old, though, Scott.
It does. It's so old.
Oh.
It is the oldest thing in my life.
Well, I know it is because I see you sporting the Clemson colors tonight here, the fluorescent orange, the Clemson orange, Dabo Swinney, great ball team. It's going to be great. Number 1 against number 2. I think everybody believes that this is the best 2 teams in the country, especially after what happened in the semifinal rounds of the playoffs.
You know, that's one thing there has been no debate about, that the best 2 teams got to the end, and they're going to play tonight. And we'll have score predictions before we get out of here. We're going to talk a lot about this game. Ken's going to break it all down for us. But some other things going on in sports. One of the big stories coming out late this afternoon is the rumor from some NFL people that the Green Bay Packers have named their head coach, and that it is Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. Now, that's not been officially announced by the Packers, but usually when you hear this much coming from different camps, it usually turns out to be true in the NFL. And if that's the case, I don't know how great a job Matt LaFleur did this year. The Titans were the 22nd ranked offense in the NFL, but for that offense and for Marcus Mariota and even for Mike Vrabel, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and definitely, for Matt LaFleur to go to the Green Bay Packers and inherit Aaron Rodgers, who wouldn't want to do that, but definitely an upgrade over Marcus Mariota. Unfortunate that he missed that last game against the Colts and was not able to play. The Colts Titans, I guess it's been a while since we've met and been on the Shasteen Show a couple weeks here as we broke for the holidays, but unfortunate that the Tennessee Titans could not cash in and win that last game and make it to the playoffs this year.
But then the Colts, they just absolutely dismantled somebody this weekend and advanced to the next round. I tell you, they're playing well. Andrew Luck is healthy.
Yeah, 21-7 over the Houston Texans. The Texans win the AFC South in the regular season. But when you get in those wild card rounds, anything can happen. I believe 3 of the 4 road teams won this past weekend. So kind of a few upsets. But I tell you what, if I was the Kansas City Chiefs, I would beware of the Colts, the way they're playing defensively, balanced offense. They can run the ball. Andrew Luck coming off that, rotator cuff surgery. I didn't know if he'd be effective ever again. He sat out, a year or 2, an extended period of time. But, he's very accurate on the short to middle passes. Still can't really throw the ball real long. But you know what? It's working. The Colts offensive line, I think they've got the best pass protection offensive line in pro football, no doubt about it.
Well, and you see it almost every year, Ken. The road teams in this wild card round, they tend to do quite well. Those division champions, especially a team like the Ravens, they just seem like they gave everything they had to get to the playoffs. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, the Chargers just defended him so well.
Yeah.
And the Ravens came back, and it was just a 2-point game. But a lot of credit goes to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think I'd like to see them beat the Patriots this weekend. I think there could very well be a Colts-Chargers AFC Championship game because I'm with you.
Yeah.
Kansas City has got a history of losing early in the playoffs. They did it last year against the Titans, and I think there's an excellent chance that the Colts roll into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs.
Well, I think that they've got a very good opportunity of the 4 playoff games, the divisional playoff games now. I think that the Colts, the Chiefs are definitely on upset alert. And, San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers also playing good behind Phillip Rivers, who's never been in a Super Bowl. Now they go to New England. That's going to be a tough game. Really, in those divisional rounds, the 1 and 2 seeds that play at home and have that bye week, it makes such an impact at the NFL level. The statistics are staggering in favor of the home team in that divisional playoff round. But there could be some upsets this next weekend.
Yeah, I think one of the 2 road teams in the AFC wins. I don't know about both.
Yeah.
But I think the Colts or the Chargers, one is going to win a game this weekend. Your Cowboys?
Quite possible. But before we go to my Dallas Cowboys, I want to hack on John Harbaugh a little bit. I thought it was Jim Harbaugh that was actually on the sidelines for the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. Man, the first 3.5 quarters of football for the quarterback Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens was the worst pro football quarterback performance I believe I'd ever seen. 3 first downs with 8 or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the game. The guy, it looked like he was just dropping back and drawing up plays on his own. Depending on how many seconds he had, I don't know what kind of plays they were calling. And then I was just flabbergasted there wasn't a change made earlier. And really, at the end of the game, you get it to 1 score, cut it to 23-17, 2 minutes left, 2-minute warning, and you do not kick an onside kick in that situation. John Harbaugh, what are you thinking? Come on, man, that was pitiful. I'm trying to gauge the worst performance over the holidays coaching John Harbaugh with the Ravens or Jim Harbaugh with the Michigan Wolverines. We'll get to that a little bit later.
And then on the NFC side, your Dallas Cowboys finally advanced.
Yeah.
Going to the second round. Probably saved the coach's job once again. But impressive performance by the Cowboys. Yeah,
he's living on a prayer. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, Amari Cooper, has injected some energy into that passing game and made really Dallas balanced. But what's making Dallas go right now is their defense. They're playing so well. They lost one of their wide receivers, horrific injury to Allen Hurns, who, by the way, they said will be back. That dislocated ankle, it looked terrible. It looked a lot worse on TV. But they're banged up at the wide receiver position a little bit, and I think they have a defense that can slow down Todd Gurley and Jared Goff, but they're on the road there. I don't know if they can they certainly cannot get in a shootout with the Rams. They don't have that much firepower offensively.
Well, the Rams have not really been shooting out over the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. But I think the Cowboys have got a good chance.
I hope so.
And then the Eagles. What about Nick Foles?
How about the Eagles? How about Nick Foles? Yeah. 16-15, but I saw the funniest tweet. I've got to read it. I wrote it out here, so I wanted to share it with you tonight and our audience. And it goes something like this. Cody Parkey, ex-Auburn Tiger field goal kicker. If you saw, the Bears have a chance to win it. They're down 16-15. He kicks a field goal. They said it was tipped by a lineman barely. It hits the left upright and then the crossbar. He's had 6 of those in his career. He's hit the goalpost 6 times on missed field goals. But this is what somebody tweeted out.
This year?
6?
This year.
My goodness. All right, listen to this. This is pretty funny. Hang in there. Somebody tweeted out, hang in there, Cody. Chicago is a forgiving town. Signed, Steve Bartman.
I knew that was coming.
How'd you like that one?
I knew that
great.
was coming. Yeah.
Steve Bartman.
Forgiving town.
Oh.
Hadn't been back to Wrigley since.
Man, I felt bad for Parky, man. They booed him out of the stadium, man, going into that tunnel there at the end, man. Just booed him plumb out of there. So that's tough. Life for a kicker in the NFL is tough, man. So, unfortunate for the Chicago Bears, they had home field. They had the number 2 seed after the New Orleans Saints. They had actually, I think, beaten the Saints and the Rams in the regular season. They were a very dangerous team, and they get upset at home on a missed field goal on the last second. So too bad. But the Super Bowl champions are still alive, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, Nick Foles is living a charmed life. I mean, this guy, he's 5-0 in his first 5 playoff games, the first quarterback in NFL history to do that. There's a lot of teams that could have got Nick Foles during the offseason.
I think there'll be some teams making a move for him this next offseason for sure.
I think one of the big stories in pro football this year, and then we'll break, is these trades giving up first-round draft picks for superstar players. I mean, you look at teams that did that. Yeah, one of them won and one of them lost. But Amari Cooper going to the Cowboys and Khalil Mack going to the Bears. John Gruden may be the general manager of the year because he basically got 2 teams into the playoffs. Yeah, with those 2 trades.
Well, you're right, he did.
But I think that's going to and we lauded both of those trades when they happened. We said we went against conventional wisdom and said, no, I think they're good trades. Yeah. They were good trades. And I think you'll see that become a trend now. Teams will be willing to give up their first-round pick next year to get a superstar.
Yeah, and, Khalil Mack, not a very good game. The Philadelphia Eagles did a great job in pass protection for Nick Foles. No sacks yesterday by Mack. Amari Cooper had a big game. He had over 100 yards in receiving yards, so he's paid dividends as well. But you're right, those 2 guys really helped spearhead their teams to playoff runs, no doubt about it.
So there's a little breakdown of the NFL. We're just trying to save the best for last. We are going to start talking national championship football game in the next segment. We're here at London's. They've got lots of TVs, big TVs. Game's going to be on all of them. So come in, have a steak, have a burger, have a beer, and watch football. Driven by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma, live downtown at London's. You're listening to the Shasteen Show on 93.9 The Duck.
Have you heard the news? The Russell Barnett Automotive family has launched its new and improved website. That's russellbarnett.com. With over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from, then look no further than russellbarnett.com. Online service appointments, customer testimonials, and vehicle history reports, this website has it all. We are the largest Middle Tennessee family-owned dealership with 5 locations to choose from. russellbarnett.com, and why buy anywhere else?
Builder Supply in Tullahoma is your one-stop for all the building materials you need for your next project. Their paint center has a full line of Benjamin Moore paints to brighten any room. Trust the experts, Bubba, Joe, and the gang at Builder Supply, 301 South Atlantic Street, Tullahoma.
Sample Family Restaurant in Estill Springs is the place to go when you're hungry for good country cooking. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Friday nights, 4 to 7:30, with Friday night trivia starting at 6:15. Breakfast is served all day, every day at Sample Family Restaurant in Estill Springs.
Think there's only one way to earn a college degree? It's time to explore your alternatives at Motlow State Community College. With our diverse degree options, a variety of course formats, and convenient locations, students can customize a college experience to fit any lifestyle, budget, or schedule. There are countless ways to get the education you need. Come explore them with us at Motlow State Community College.
You're watching The Shasteen Show, presented by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma on LightTube Channel 23 and 93.9 The Duck. Now back to Scott and Ken at London's in downtown Tullahoma.
What a gorgeous day and gorgeous night here in southern Middle Tennessee, Ken. You got to love 65 degrees on a early January
Oh, man,
day.
we enjoyed Saturday. Weekend was beautiful. Saturday and Sunday, we took our 2 grandsons to the zoo, and when you're down there at the zoo, I don't know if you've ever been to the Nashville Zoo. They got these walking passes, got big footprints of like bears, hippopotamuses, different animals, and my 4-year-old grandson was putting his feet in them, and I said, Bugs is what we call him. That's his nickname. I said, Bugs, I said, are you walking in T-Rex tracks there? And he said, no. He said, that's a Stegosaurus.
Oh, so you just don't know your dinosaurs like
That's
Bugs.
right. That's right. Old Bugs put it on me. He said there were Stegosaurus tracks.
Now, you can watch the replay of this program on LightTube Channel 23 beginning on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and probably one or both of us is going to look silly based on our predictions tonight after the game tonight. But what you'll also want to see is Ken Keller going full beard mode. What's up with that? Explain yourself.
Well, I wish I could say that I made a vow not to shave until Alabama won another national championship, but that's not the case. I just, I guess I've been in the cave the last couple of weeks because I haven't been on the Shasteen Show.
It's been 3 weeks.
It has. It's been 3 weeks.
And we missed London's.
Yes.
Missed coming up here, although I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year's, good holiday. Everything go okay?
Excellent. And yourself? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got no complaints.
Yeah, we had a great time, man.
No complaints.
Good family time.
Went very well.
Yep.
Went very well. So, college football coming to a close. It's a bittersweet night for everybody. Somebody's going to win tonight, somebody's going to lose, obviously. But all of us are going to lose because we don't get on college football till August.
Yeah.
And that's a long, long time from January.
But we've got the NFL draft in Nashville this year to look forward to in the spring, so that'll kind of keep things exciting.
So make a prediction. Do the Titans draft a quarterback in the draft in Nashville this year?
I don't think they do. I think they may trade for one, but I don't think
what if they traded up to number 1 and drafted Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State? You think Nashville would go about half wild?
I think they would be better off waiting a year and drafting Tua Tagovailoa in 2020, who's going to be the number 1 pick, or 2021 Trevor Lawrence of the Clemson Tigers, who will be the number 1 NFL pick. Put it down. After this year, those next 2 years, these 2 quarterbacks you're going to see starting tonight in that national championship, both will be the next 2 number 1 draft picks. Bank it.
You know who has had a pretty rough end to the college football season is those Georgia Bulldogs.
Kang, the one they call Kang Kirby in Athens. He's had a rough couple weeks, 3 weeks actually, hasn't he?
He really has. He really
sure
has. You know, I don't know. I just had a feeling. I thought Texas looked like a team on the rise, and I thought Georgia would look like a team that didn't want to be there, and they both looked exactly like that.
Well, you predicted it, so I gave you your props. I put it out on Twitter. I videoed it to put a little 9-10 second video out there, Scott. We talked about these teams coming in, your teams coming into the bowl season, one interested, one uninterested, and we kind of had a little question mark about the Georgia Bulldogs, and you went ahead and pulled the ripcord and took the Texas Longhorns to beat the Georgia Bulldogs, reeling off that fourth quarter late loss against Alabama in the SEC championship game. So they ended up losing their last 2 games of the season. And Scott, I don't know if you saw the pregame. I'm sure you've seen the highlights by now, but the Texas Longhorn mascot Bevo treated Uga pretty rudely in pregame, and that was kind of a omen or indicator for the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, and PETA now wants no more live mascots at college football games.
Oh boy. Here we go.
PETA will not take Smokey.
Yeah.
PETA will not take Smokey.
Well, you know what I thought about when I saw it? After the game, after Georgia got beat, it was kind of like that old Larry Munson call. We just stepped on their on their faces with a hobnail boot and broke their noses off. That's what I thought, kind of what the Longhorns did to the Bulldogs on the Sugar Bowl, because, man, they dominated that game. It really wasn't as close as the score ended up being, was
No,
it?
it wasn't. No, Texas dominated Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia did not want to be there.
Yeah.
They just did not want to be there.
Yeah, and so you see the fallout from that, and probably not a fallout, but, Kirby was, it's supposedly benched some starters in some of the practices. Some of those guys, speculation they were going to the NFL and they had mailed it in. They didn't care about the game. And, boy, we see the aftermath of that right after signing day as the Georgia Bulldogs lose 6 big-time players to the NFL.
Is Kirby Smart one of those guys you think who might be NFL coaching material and Georgia might just be a stop?
I don't think so. No, Kirby played at Georgia. That was his dream job. He does have it rolling there in spite of these losses. But 6 key juniors go pro. Listen to these guys. 5. And freshman Justin Fields. We talked about him possibly transferring. He's now at Ohio State enrolled. But these are the players Georgia lost. Wide receiver Mercoli Hardeman. Running back Elijah Holyfield. Wide receiver Riley Ridley. Tight end, who I think is the best tight end in the country, Isaac Nada. And wide receiver DeAndre Baker.
They lost a lot of skill position players right there.
That's big time.
That's big time.
It is. So
Jake from State Farm is going to have to find him a lot of new targets next year.
He is. So do you believe that Tennessee, Florida, the rest of the SEC East has gained some ground now?
Well, that can't hurt. However, we've got to keep in mind that the majority of Georgia's roster was freshmen and sophomores. Many of those freshmen and sophomores are better players than the guys leaving. They're 4 and 5 stars across the board. So is it the demise of Georgia? No.
No.
But can Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky take a little hope from that? Sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Georgia ended up with 3 losses on the year.
No doubt about it. And really, Georgia's seeing what Alabama's had to deal with, the coaching rumors of Kirby Smart being courted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now you lose early entrance to the NFL. Coaches start rating, other teams start rating your coaching staff. Welcome to big-time football, Kirby Smart.
Everything that happens across the country to teams like that, you get all these different things going on. It just makes it more and more remarkable on what Nick Saban has done, because it doesn't matter what assistant coaches come and go. It doesn't matter what players leave early or quarterbacks go down. It just doesn't matter. We won't get into tonight's game yet, but historically, that's what makes it so phenomenal.
Yeah,
what
it
he's
is.
done.
I mean, he just plug and places on the coaches. He has typically 5 or 6 juniors declare early to the NFL, and then the machine continues to roll. It's amazing. So I want to let's look at a couple of these results from the SEC right now. It's 5 and 5. I want to laud a couple of the teams, and we mentioned the Florida Gators earlier, but they totally curb stomped the Michigan Wolverines 41-15, I believe the score was. Man, that was no contest right there, Scott. SEC over the Big Ten.
Jim Harbaugh needs to be an NFL coach. That's his calling. That's where he would be most effective. And he would have to upgrade and update if he was an NFL coach. He would have to hire a really good offensive coordinator and leave them alone, because Michigan, they just look like 1985, and that's just not going to get it.
Yeah, their offense. You talk about Saban willing to adapt, bringing Lane Kiffin in, going with the spread offense, spreading people all over the field, throwing it around. But this looks like the old Chicago Bears offense back in the 80s. Back when he played.
Watching some of that, I thought about what a lot of Tennessee fans act like they want, which is we want to line up in that power eye and have that full, you heard all that mess. That's fine every once in a while, but you are not winning big in college football in 2018 or 19 or 20, lining up in the power eye and trying to run the ball down people's throats. They're just going to outscore you.
Yeah, it's basically Stone Ages now. And then, talking about tonight's game, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But, this may come down to who gets the ball last and who outscores who, So, another SEC Big Ten matchup. The Penn State Nittany Lions fall to the Kentucky Wildcats, Kentucky, and Mark Stoops get win number 10.
Yeah, that was an impressive performance by Kentucky. I mean, early in the year, Penn State was undefeated and ranked among the top 5 teams in the nation. They were being mentioned as a potential playoff team. And, well, you got to give Stoops a lot of credit. I mean, he had a lot of juniors and seniors on that team, and he kept those guys together. They stayed focused, and they wanted that game a lot more than Penn State did.
Big win for the Kentucky Wildcats. And another SEC team that had a great performance, I thought, was the Texas A&M Aggies. Beware Jimbo Fisher. They went 9-2 versus teams that didn't play or not playing in the national championship this year, and gave Clemson especially a heck of a battle, losing by only 2 points. But they beat down North Carolina State, and were finished the first recruiting cycle number 3 in the nation. Scott.
Yeah, that early signing day. Jimbo, I mean, they're coming. The SEC is not getting any easier. It's not going to get any easier anytime soon. All it's going to do is get more competitive. For every Georgia that loses a player, there's a Texas A&M or a Florida or a Tennessee that gains a 5-star. SEC's just getting better.
Yeah. Before we get jumped on by the Auburn Tigers, another SEC win over Big Ten. They just the boat race the Purdue Boilermakers 63-14. I think they put up like 56 points at halftime or something crazy. But a big win for Auburn in that game. And also, I wanted to hit on this one. Another big one, the LSU Tigers. I think we can put the mythical national championship for UCF, the Knights, to rest this year. What do you think? 40-32, LSU wins that game. But boy, that was an ugly game. It was them two teams were fighting each other, man.
I think that the whole country became LSU fans for a night.
Yeah.
Because we're all tired of UCF and their talk. Almost as tired of UCF as we are of Alabama.
Almost.
But they only got one national championship, so we're not quite as tired as they are. But yeah, impressed with LSU. And I'm impressed. The more time goes on, and the more we see these trends in bowl games where players leave, and where we see one team just basically not show up, Georgia. I'm impressed when teams finish that bowl game strong and win that thing and play hard. Now that's becoming that, it used to be, that was your expectation. It's not the expectation anymore. So when teams like Texas A&M do that, teams like LSU do that, I'm impressed with that.
And I think that's a great point. And I heard that theme mentioned over and over again throughout the bowl season. It's a springboard to the next year. You get those 15 practices. You want that momentum. So teams with momentum out of the SEC going into next season is certainly the Kentucky Wildcats, the Florida Gators, and the Texas A&M Aggies. I think they had those 3 teams right there based off the way their season ended. I think they've got a lot to look forward to here in the upcoming year.
Yeah, because there's 2 things that can happen in those 15 practices. Either the team really doesn't care, and you basically waste your time, Georgia, or the team really does care and they get better. And I think you'll see that from A&M and Florida. I don't know about Kentucky. I think they're going to lose too much. I think Kentucky will slip back next year. But good weeks for some SEC teams, and not terrible weeks for some other SEC teams. You mentioned Auburn.
Vandy lost.
I thought Auburn was going to be a team that didn't care.
Yeah,
I was pretty impressed with the job that Gus did. They looked like they really wanted to play. I thought Vandy played hard. That was a pretty good football game to watch.
Mississippi State, I think that's a team that's going to take a step back, and that's important because Tennessee, they come to Knoxville next year, so that's the crossover game for the Vols. Besides Alabama, they'll see Mississippi State Bulldogs in Neyland Stadium next year.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State is always going to go like this, just like Ole Miss. They can't sustain it. I agree with what you're saying. I think they sort of peaked under Mullen. Had a good year this year because all those players were still there. I think they're going to start. I think they're going to go back to the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and 2 pretty good quarterbacks, in that segment. You got Dak Prescott and Nick Fitzgerald, there. So, a couple studs now gone. And, that was one win for the Big Ten over the SEC. Iowa, I was impressed with Iowa. They did play a good game against Mississippi State. I was an upset. I thought State would beat them.
All right, we're halfway through the show. Come on down to London's. It's a great night. Get out before the rain hits. Have a steak. Watch the national championship football game here. They got big screens all over the place. Driven by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma and live at London's. It's the Shasteen Show on 93.9 The Duck.
Have you heard the news? The Russell Barnett Automotive family has launched its new and improved website. That's russellbarnett.com. With over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles to choose from, then look no further than russellbarnett.com. Online service appointments, customer testimonials, and vehicle history reports, this website has it all. We're the largest Middle Tennessee family-owned dealership with 5 locations to choose from. russellbarnett.com, and why buy anywhere else?
Do you need more? More golf, hunting, or camping? More basketball, soccer, and baseball? Do you need more football? Do you just need more sports? LightTube's digital sports tier has more sports. Offering 12 additional sports channels for only $3 additional a month. What are you waiting on? Call 455-4515 and get more today.
Get the gig. Get the world's fastest internet with LightTube. That's 1 gig down, 1 gig up internet speeds for only $89.95 per month. Call LightTube today to upgrade and get the gig. Call us at 455-4515 to learn more. LightTube. Local people, local service.
You're watching The Shasteen Show, presented by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma on LightTube Channel 23 and 93.9 The Duck. Now back to Scott and Ken at London's in downtown Tullahoma.
So the Clemson Tigers take the field, arm in arm, all the way across the field. Clemson in orange, white jerseys, orange helmets, and Ken, I think my orange is pretty close here.
I think it's very close. That makes me a little nervous seeing them coming in with locked arms like that and stuff, man. I tell you what, that Dabo Swinney, he's a great coach.
So went out to Motlow College on Saturday and watched the Motlow Bucks, and Lady Bucks beat Lawson State. It's a big weekend coming up for Motlow as they jump back into Tennessee Community College Athletic Association action this weekend. Motlow will host Roane State on Friday night, 5:30 p.m. the women, 7:30 p.m. the men. And then on Saturday, it's big rivalry day. Walter State comes into Copperweld Arena, 2 o'clock for the women, 4 o'clock for the men. And the Lady Bucks and the Lady Senators from Walter State are tied at the top of the TCCAA standings. So this game Saturday at 2 o'clock is for first place in the conference.
That's a big game right there.
A big game, and of course the Bucks, they're undefeated in the conference as well, and they lead the conference. They'll be the favorite for both games this weekend. So admission is free at Motlow. The concession stand's going. Ken's been out there a few times. It's a pretty good atmosphere. High level of basketball. If you think Motlow's just a half a step above high school, you are sadly mistaken. Motlow is just a half a step below what you watch on Saturdays and Sundays on ESPN. They got some really good players on both sides of the ball. So get out there and support your local college team. Speaking of college basketball, Tennessee Volunteers just keep rolling. They dismantled Georgia, almost double them up. A lot of people, not a lot, not enough. Some people beginning to vote Tennessee #1 in that AP poll, Ken. Man, they're looking awesome.
Well, 96-50 is a cataclysmic beatdown. I mean, you almost double the score on the Georgia Bulldogs right there in the first conference game of the SEC. Quite impressive. Almost as impressive as what Alabama did to the Kentucky Wildcats on Saturday.
I was going to mention, I think I'm not sure how much longer I'll get to look at that AP poll and not see any votes for the Crimson Tide. I think that's coming.
Yeah, they
probably came today. I just haven't looked.
2-point win over Kentucky, 77-75. So a big win there for Alabama.
I'm gonna have to check out the poll. All right,
Avery Johnson.
Need we stall anymore?
No, I guess it's time.
I think it's time to begin talk about tonight's national championship football game between Alabama and Clemson. The two teams have played each of the last 3 years. Alabama won the first one, national championship game. Oh yeah, Greg Schiano out as defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Don't you know the teams are going to be breaking down the door to hire Greg Schiano, because we heard from the national media that he may be the finest coach in America.
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting to see who goes after him, because they're going to take some heat.
Yeah, they are. Alabama got 7 votes in the poll today. They're about 32-33, right there between Seton Hall and your favorite UCF team. Tennessee, boy, they almost caught Michigan for second in that poll. So anyway, you know, this is your thing. College football is your thing. I've watched some Clemson. I've watched some Bama. Most of the games were blowouts, so I hadn't watched a ton. I'm excited. I'm hopeful for a great game. I think this has the opportunity to be one of the greatest college football games in history. For the first time ever, somebody's going to be 15-0 when this game's over. And it's going to be hard, especially if Alabama wins, for a lot of people not to proclaim this the greatest team in history. I think it's possible.
I think it's the greatest offense that I've seen Alabama have, you know, just from an explosiveness standpoint. Their defense, Saban's had 3 or 4 defenses in his 12 years better than this one. But, man, you're right. We're in an age now where you got to outscore teams, Scott, and now they have the capabilities to do that, certainly.
Yeah, so comparisons with different ages, with different defenses, I think are a little bit unfair. I mean, you know, Nebraska, 1971, is always considered one of the greatest teams in college football history. Alabama or Clemson would just blow past those guys. I mean, they just their linemen could outrun some of those backs.
Yeah, the game's changed. These guys bigger,
totally
stronger, faster.
Changed.
Yeah,
a lot faster. I don't know if they're any bigger.
Yeah,
but they're a lot faster. So, you know, comparing greatest teams of eras is tough. You got those Miami teams of the 90s and stuff. They had some great teams.
They had some bad boys.
Heard somebody mention on the radio today something about the Penn State offense of 2004. I guess was fantastic. But just overall team, if Alabama wins this game, I think certainly they're, because of that 15-0 record, they're going to be considered one of the greatest ever.
Well, they certainly had an impressive performance against the Oklahoma Sooners. I know you texted me after about 17 minutes of that game, and Alabama had a 28-0 lead. And I will say that first 17 minutes was probably the most impressive 17 minutes of football that I've seen in a long time from any team.
It was phenomenal.
I mean, it was crazy. It was absurd. But, you know, Oklahoma, you know, they guess they're into moral victories a little bit. Their coach said that they outscored Alabama the rest of the way, which they did. But Alabama had that game pretty comfortable. But these two teams really are mirror images of each other. The way that Dabo has built this Clemson program, excellent facilities and recruiting, and both teams have elite quarterback play. You know, you got Tua Tagovailoa for Alabama, and you got the freshman of the year in the ACC, Trevor Lawrence. This guy, you know, tries to emulate Peyton Manning, wears number 16. That was his favorite player growing up. The guy is great, and if he can pull off the upset as a true freshman quarterback over Nick Saban, trying to get his 7th national title and pass Bear, then Alabama fans just going to have to tip their hat to the guy if that's what happens.
Well, you know, championship game experience, I don't think there's anything to replace that.
Right.
I think that accounts for a lot of what Alabama's done these last 10 years. Is a lot of people in there got national championship game experience. Trevor Lawrence is fantastic, and he's a cool customer and all that, but these lights are going to be awful bright tonight.
Yeah, and they are, and you know, so you know, you look at the strengths of these teams; they're similar. But, you know, the wide receivers, very impressive. We told you a few weeks ago about Justin Ross and this wide receiver core from Clemson Tigers. You saw that on display against as they just disintegrate the Notre Dame Fighting Irish 30-3. Defense looked good. Big play after big play. Justin Ross, I think, had 180 yards. Number one wide receiver out of the state of Alabama that Clemson stole this past year. Defensive line play, Quentin Williams for Alabama, and those big studs for Clemson, although they do have one out tonight. Dexter Lawrence not going to play, suspended in that game. Quarterback play, great running backs. Travis Etienne with the Clemson Tigers, Alabama with a stable of running backs. You know, so we know what the strengths of these teams are. What are the weaknesses? What are the minuses of these teams? And I wrote a few of these down because the strengths have been going over and over with. So here's some of the minuses.
Let me stop you right there, partner.
Yes.
We got one segment left.
Right.
We're going to head toward our predictions, and then we'll wait for you to get down here at London's and watch this game. Driven by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma, live downtown at London's. It's the Shasteen Show, 93.9 The Duck.
Trucks, and more trucks. Keith Barnett here with the Russell Barnett Automotive family, and we have your next truck. From the Ford F-Series, the Ram, Chevrolet, or the GMC, then look no further than the Russell Barnett family. With over 350 new and pre-owned trucks to choose from, now is the time to buy. Stop by one of our 5 locations. That's Russell Barnett Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Chevrolet GMC, Ford of Winchester, and Russell Barnett Ford and Kia of Tullahoma, or visit us on the web at russellbarnett.com. Why buy anywhere else?
I'm working with a home buyer from Louisiana, and he asked me what type of internet access we have in Tullahoma. So I told him all about LightTube, and he said, "You're kidding me. There's fiber optics available in Tullahoma?" And I said, "Not only that, but it's great service, most reliable. You get to work with people in Tullahoma, and it's awesome." And he said, "People need to know in Tullahoma how lucky they are."
Think there's only one way to earn a college degree? It's time to explore your alternatives at Motlow State Community College. With our diverse degree options, a variety of course formats, and convenient locations, students can customize a college experience to fit any lifestyle, budget, or schedule. There are countless ways to get the education you need. Come explore them with us at Motlow State Community College.
You're watching The Shasteen Show, presented by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma on LightTube Channel 23 and 93.9 The Duck. Now back to Scott and Ken at London's in downtown Tullahoma.
And as we head into our final segment here, we want to be sure and take this opportunity to thank our sponsors of the Shasteen Show, including Rogers Insurance and Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma and London's here. Kim, we're heading up to 2 years of doing this show, and man, time flies.
I think this is our best venue too, man. I
that's
love
great.
It here. Yeah.
Fantastic here at London's. Food's great, service is great. We get interaction from the crowd, and the Rowdy Rascals always
Rowdy Rascals in the house.
Rowdy Rascals are in the house. Always good to hear. Let's hear it, Rowdy Rascals. Yeah, there we go. A little bit.
Hey, before we go this game, we got some certain Tullahoman that was named to the was it the Hall of Fame here this past weekend?
Which Hall of Fame?
It's Mr. Gary Barfield.
Oh yes, the Tennessee Community College Athletic Association Hall of Fame.
So
Thank you.
Congratulations to Gary
for reminding me of that. This is the 4th consecutive year that a Motlow College affiliated person has been named to the TCCAA Hall of Fame. Absolutely. It's been a phenomenal run. You had David Weathers, you had Don Roten, you had Bob Martin last year, the leading scorer in Motlow history, and now former softball coach and athletic director Gary Barfield. 4 straight years Hall of Fame.
That'll be a trivia question on this show one day, so remember those 4 names, folks.
Let me tell you about another Hall of Fame that's coming up. February the 9th, that's a Saturday, the Tullahoma Sports Council is going to hold the first Tullahoma Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tullahoma Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. They'll be announcing really soon where that is, how to get tickets, and all that sort of thing. But it's just over a month away. I'm going to MC that puppy.
Oh, cool.
So I'm excited about it. Going to have, I think, about 10 or 12 inductees. And then that's going to become an annual thing, the Tullahoma Sports Council Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So that's on the horizon. That's pretty
cool.
exciting.
Neat concept.
All right. Clemson, Alabama 4. Part 4 coming on. Give me one player for Clemson that could step up and be the difference for the Tigers, other than Trevor Lawrence.
I'm going to say Justin Ross. I think he's a mismatch nightmare. True freshman, 6'4", 210 pounds. Man, that guy's going to be tough to cover. Alabama had trouble there after the first quarter with Oklahoma's receivers, and I'm concerned about Alabama's safety play. They missed a lot of tackles, dropped a couple of interceptions. They better play better tonight if they want to win.
What about those two Knoxville boys, T. Higgins and Amari Rogers?
Yeah, I mean, they're weapons. I mean, he's got all kinds of them. You talk about balance. So
you're talking about coming and stealing the Ross out of Alabama.
Yeah.
What about the thievery that Dabo put on Butch Jones with T. Higgins and Amari Rogers?
He sure did, and don't forget, Hunter Renfro's been there forever, and he's back. So he made a big difference in the game that they won against Alabama. Actually caught the touchdown on the game that Deshaun Watson pulled out for Clemson.
One player for Alabama who could be the difference, make the big play, not named Tua or Quinnen.
I think the tight end for Alabama, Irv Smith. I think you better watch out for him, number 82. I think he could have a big game. He's had a fantastic year, broke a record this year for receiving yards as an Alabama tight end, and they've had some good ones. So I think watch out for Irv Smith tonight.
I think Trevor Lawrence better watch out for Quinnen.
Yeah, I hope so.
That center at Clemson has no idea what's fixing to happen.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've had a hard time getting a grasp on this game on the score, man. So, we all know what the strengths of the teams are: quarterback play, wide receivers, defensive lines, head coaches. We know all that. What are some minuses of these teams? Okay, that's what I want to look at. What are the deficiencies of this team? But one of them, big one for neither team's good in special teams, but Clemson's even worse than Alabama. 125 out of 130 FBS schools in special teams. So it's hard to imagine a team that doesn't have an advantage over Alabama in special teams. So that's one thing that I'd be concerned about as a Clemson Tiger. You mentioned it earlier. The second one is this. Is this game atmosphere, is the hype too big for freshman quarterback Trevor Lawrence? Great season, but this is a whole different animal tonight going against Alabama Crimson Tide in the game for the national championship. So those are a couple concerns. Also, strength of schedule. Alabama's schedule much, much tougher than the Clemson Tigers. My thought is this. Had Clemson had Alabama's schedule, how many games would they have lost this year? I think 2, maybe 3. I think Georgia could have beat them. I think LSU could have beat them at Baton Rouge, and possibly Oklahoma in the playoffs. They only beat Texas A&M by 2 points and had a blown call by the referees on a touchdown, apparent touchdown for the Texas A&M Aggies. It was overturned. So that doesn't matter, though. You look at it, Alabama's played a tougher schedule. It's a one-game season right now. Both teams going for 15-0. So Alabama minuses, what are they? I think the defensive backs dropped several balls in their hands against Oklahoma. If they do that tonight, they're toast. Safety play, they got split down the seam. I worry about Justin Ross and T. Higgins, 6'4" wide receivers going right down the seam for bombs if Trevor Lawrence gets time. Also, the offensive lines. Which offensive line, Scott, protects their quarterback better? I think that's going to be big in this game. Quarterback protection, which offensive line plays better, which team creates turnovers and gets turnovers, and tackling. Tackling in the secondary is going to be critical in the open field because all these receivers, kick returners, so dynamic in this game.
Clemson's secondary, they better be ready.
Yeah.
Because not only does Alabama have the most accurate quarterback I think I've ever seen, not only does Alabama have the best set of wide receivers that Alabama's ever had collectively, but they have got 3 running backs that if Clemson can't tackle them at the line of scrimmage or on the second level, if they get past the linebackers, those Clemson defensive backs are in trouble, because all 3 of those guys, especially, I love Josh Jacobs, and I don't say that about too many Alabama guys. He will find somebody to run over.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the key to this game. Is can the Christian Wilkins, Cleveland Farrell, the rest of that Austin Bryant, that front 4 for the Clemson Tigers that dominated Notre Dame and dominated opponents throughout the season, can they rush Tua with just 4 and not blitz? Because if you blitz, Tua was 10 for 10 against the Oklahoma Sooners against the blitz. This guy was 24 for 27. You talked about his accuracy. 24 for 27. He had a touchdown pass called back, and he had a long bomb ruled incomplete when receiver did not get his foot in bounds. It was very close play that could have been called either way. He could have been 26 for 29 in that game with 5 touchdowns. He has, it was 4 touchdowns and only 3 incompletions in that game. I love Tua and the clutch gene out of him. The clutch gene. That guy just got the it factor. I love his accuracy. And if Alabama's offensive line gives him time, the Alabama fans are going to be saying tonight, Awoli Kaha, Roll Tide. That's what they're going to be saying tonight.
What?
That's Roll Tide in Hawaiian. Awoli Kaha, Roll Tide in Hawaiian.
Oh, well, please. Let's do a couple of what ifs. What if both teams' quarterbacks get hurt? Advantage huge Alabama. If Trevor Lawrence goes out, Clemson is in a ton of trouble.
Totally agree.
If Tua goes out, Alabama might play better. That's a huge advantage, Bama, because it seems to happen in these big games. Quarterbacks do get hurt.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts started both last games, and that's a good point. The previous matchups, Jalen Hurts played in 2 of them. This is his 3rd one against Clemson. Kelly Bryant, the quarterback last year for Clemson, that 24-6 loss. They're much better at the quarterback position. So you're right. That's going to be a big responsibility for the Clemson Tigers to keep Alabama and Quentin Williams especially and Raekwon Davis off of Trevor Lawrence tonight.
And if I'm Alabama, I'm not playing dirty, but I'm hitting Trevor Lawrence at every opportunity. You got to get that guy flinching just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side, the Clemson's going to bring the heat on Tua too. So you're going to see both teams try to really get after the quarterback and win the lines of scrimmage. Watch out in this game for number 22 as well for Alabama, Najee Harris. He's from California. He could break out with a big game. He's wanting to put on a show tonight. Tua brought 400 to 500 of his family members, so he has his entire entourage in that stadium tonight at the San Francisco 49ers Stadium there tonight. And who knows, in 2 years he could be the first pick of the draft by the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see what happens.
What if the game comes down to a field goal? Because I think it could.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like, based on your analysis, that neither team really has an advantage here.
Yeah, I think so. But I'd say watch the return games. Both teams with capable punt returners. In that first national championship between Alabama and Clemson, it was decided by special teams. A terrific call by Nick Saban, but even a better kick on the onside kick to steal a possession against Clemson, and then the kick return by Kenyon Drake, the 99-yard kickoff return for the touchdowns. Alabama won that game 45-40. Special teams could be big. Also trick plays. Watch out for Dabo Swinney. And I'm going to make a funny prediction on a trick play for Alabama tonight. When they have formations where they have Tua and Jalen Hurts on the field at the same time and have Jalen Hurts out at wide receiver, I think Alabama is going to throw a pass tonight from Jalen Hurts at the wide receiver position. Tua's going to sling it out to him. Instead of running with it this time, he's going to pull up and throw a pass downfield. Watch for that play tonight. I think it could happen.
Who's it going to?
I'm going to say Henry Ruggs, number 11. We'll just see what happens. I'm going to say Henry Ruggs for 6.
All right, we got a couple of minutes left in the program. So I know your explanation of why you're picking like you're picking will probably be more in depth than mine will. So I'll tell you why I'm picking like I'm picking. Even though I wore the bright neon orange, even brighter and more neon than the Clemson Tigers wear, was just to counterbalance the big, the big red A on your chest. Because as you know, having hosted this show for 13, 14 years now, that I no longer pick against Alabama. Why would I? They usually win. I think the kicking game is going to be critical. I think Clemson's not only going to miss an extra point, but they're going to miss a field goal. And so I'm going to say Alabama 38, Clemson 34. Clemson covers the 5.5 spread. Take the over. I think it's 57.5. Take the over. 38-34, Bama.
It's amazing. We're pretty close. And you know, in these picks, we don't talk about them before we make them. When we go back to that Oklahoma-Alabama game, I had Alabama 45, Oklahoma 32. That game was 45-34. You were very close, too. I think you had it a touchdown on. I think you had 52-34 Alabama. So we were close there. My score is much like yours. But I think in this game, I've looked it all over. I think it comes down to quarterback play. And if it's going to come down to quarterback play after what I saw Tua do, closer to healthy against Oklahoma, I like his clutch gene. I like his accuracy. I like his weapons. I've got Alabama 38, Clemson 27. So I give Clemson one more touchdown or one less touchdown than you do, but I got Alabama 38 points just like you do. So you've got them 38-34. I've got Alabama 38-27.
So you're saying take the Tide and give the points.
Yes.
But you're also picking the over. Over 57.5. That's it. That's our national championship football game show for 2019. Come on down to London's, enjoy the game, and have a steak. That'll do it for this edition of the Shasteen Show. For Ken Keller and the crew, I'm Scott Shasteen. Be good to each other.
The Shasteen Show, presented by Russell Barnett Ford of Tullahoma and brought to you by Southern Community Bank, Rogers Insurance Group, and Mission Collision, is a presentation of Bowman Media Company and 93.9 The Duck. The show is taped before a live audience at London's in downtown Tullahoma, Monday nights at 6 p.m. Come join us for cold beer and Tullahoma's best burgers. Thanks for watching the Shasteen Show on LightTube Channel 23.